10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Whack Whack Attack. Today is April 19th and congratulations on Atlas! Woohoo! Celebrations! Yay! I didn't have an episode yesterday because I didn't sleep after Atlas and I was exhausted. I'm still kind of exhausted because I didn't catch up on enough sleep. When you get old, man, like it's tough. Anyway, thank you all for joining me for this really special episode. So for a few minutes there on Monday, it looked like Atlas might not happen, you know, because S&G was kind of like messing around with the settings. And he says, I mean, it's been a hot minute since I've read through these documents, but auto distribute threshold has a note about setting it to 0 in the terminal interface description, whereas automatic transaction gas threshold does not. I should leave before Joe slashes my note. And then Joe says, it doesn't. It looks like you're right. I should fix that. So then what happens is Joe, of course, looks into that and he says, he makes an announcement a little while later. He says, hey, here, node operators, we just learned of an important missing line in the terminal user interface description for the automatic transaction gas threshold. We've known anyone's been excited for Atlas for about like 3 hours, but we've decided to delay while we make that change and contact Sigma Prime to audit it again. Stay tuned for LEP8s in 2024. So it was really, really great that Joe had a sense of humor going into Atlas. Anyway, right at 8 o'clock, as everything was happening, actually not 8 o'clock, look, it was 11:59 and 59 seconds according to Etherscan. Rocket Pool deployer sent this transaction to Rocket Pool Atlas upgrade, and that cost 0.35 ETH in gas. Wow, that's a lot of gas. There were a whole lot of contracts that were getting published. So yeah, that got published, which was absolutely wonderful. The whole community goes wild. Everyone's really happy, and people are celebrating. There's live stream going on. Everyone's really happy about that. Mav does a shui, which you can see a screenshot of right here, and people are just really excited about it. Here's the live stream, how I'm celebrating Atlas. Of course, there was a thread where people were posting the celebrations, which was, the benefactor said you had to celebrate to get your RPL, and then like who celebrated. So I said, so the benefactor said we had to party for Atlas. Let's use this thread to post the pictures or comments about how you're partying. So people just like posting lots of like little things in there about how they're doing, what like clothes they're wearing, how they like treating themselves to some drinks or some food or everything. People wearing nice fancy jackets, drinking fancy drinks. And not so fancy drinks, but putting Rocket Pool stickers on their things. Some people were having Australian cookies, Tim Tams. Yeah, it was really nice little celebration. But in the minutes after Atlas, just 6 minutes afterwards, Ramana made this post saying, "Hey Whack, we're in the top 10 first LEP8s," which was really exciting as well. So thank you for that, Ramana. Everyone was just really happy. Like, there was landmarks going on. One of the things that happened was we got our first solo staker migration happening at 22 minutes after Atlas, which was really exciting as well. And then, after about 10 minutes more after that, Joe wrote this post saying, so far things look fine. There's no scrubs. They haven't happened yet because obviously you had to wait 12 hours for that. But 250 mini pools requested a bond reduction. There was one solo staker migration. And then in that period, basically like the 4 to 6 hours after Atlas went live, it all just went kind of crazy, which was really, really wonderful. One thing that I really liked was Dibsy here wrote this tweet saying, well, I did something I promised I'd never do dating back to spring 2021. I bought more RPL. Damn you, Atlas. So what happened is he made a miscalculation about moving from mini pool 16 to LEP8s. So he needed to buy more RPL for that, which was kind of funny. However, that kind of marked the peak of the price, and the price went down only after that because Dibsy, of course, is the worst trader in all of trading. That's like a joke that's been going on. And because he bought something, that means the price has to dump. So let's blame him for all the price action for the last couple of days. Not financial advice, of course. I'm sorry that my browser might be a bit laggy today. I just literally have like 100 links open. So yay. Anyway, Joe then goes on to share, later he shared some gas usage information about Redstone to Atlas. So here you can see, look, a Redstone deposit cost 2.9 million or nearly 3 million gas right here. And then, oh, that's the gas limit, sorry. And then usage was just under 2 million gas. And then he shared this information about Redstone, which was basically a whole million gas limit less, and the usage by transaction was 1.26 million. So it saves 700,000 gas, which means it's basically 33% cheaper doing a transaction on Atlas compared to Redstone, which is a huge gas efficiency. So congratulations to Kane and the team for working on that, getting that done. Yeah, like we got some really OG, like old school validators moving their bonds. So this person had a solo, they were a Genesis solo validator who started at number 1323, and now they were able to change their credentials to 0x01. And in doing that, they set it up as a Rocket Pool validator, which was really wonderful. Like, it was really great to see like old school Ethereans who were basically staking from Genesis come through to Rocket Pool with Atlas going live, and withdrawals, of course, happening on mainnet last week. So right away we started seeing some interesting information about big deposits coming into the deposit pool. So one of them was right here. About 7 hours after Atlas, we got this 3,500 ETH deposit into the deposit pool. But right away, I think people were starting to realize that the amount of ETH that was going to be used up with all the stuff was going to very quickly eat up all of the deposit pool and all of these big deposits that were coming in. But it's really great that, you know, these kind of deposits are there and they're happening. So then the milestone was reached. You know, we hit 240,000 rETH, which when you consider that just a couple of weeks ago it was less than 220,000, then that's a nice 10% increase in the space of just over a week, which was really cool. It's like the beginning of the hockey stick moment. So then yesterday, just as Joe was going to sleep, he gave me some numbers, and he says, I was like asleep at this point. Like, I went to sleep at 3:30 a.m. And every like half an hour or 45 minutes I was waking up, and I just messaged saying, I said, what are the latest hungers? Like, this is me sleep messaging from bed. So and Joe replied by saying shrimp and barbecue ribs mostly. So of course, you know, I was like, what on earth's going on? I was like sleep messaging so much on Monday night, Tuesday morning, and then Joe, I said numbers, sorry, and then Joe, you know, was kind enough to share those numbers with me. At that point, there were 397 mini pools in the scrub check. Over 1,000 people had requested a bond reduction, moving to LEB8 from a mini pool 16, and the 15 solo migrations. And he said the deposit pool is at 16,400. So I was saying 2,500 is looking conservative at that point. So those were kind of numbers that I'd been pushing around online, saying like in Twitter and stuff, saying that that's what we'll have in 24 hours, with up to like 4,000 maybe in 48 hours. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so then what did we get after that? After that, we got some more updates from Joe a few hours later about these numbers going, and the bond reduction was going up fast. So at this point, we'd already hit 2,000 new validators that were signing up with Rocket Pool, and then that information just kind of getting more and more. After 12 hours, however, that's when, oh wait, sorry, was that, just give me 1 second. This was actually the last snapshot right before the scrub checker was over for the people who, yeah, so this was one of the last snapshots before, the scrub checkers happened, and you know, the mini pools started getting processed on the rocket pool side. So there were 518 new mini pools, 1,643 bond reductions, and 49 solo staker migrations at that point. So this is in the first 12 hours basically after Atlas went live. So that was right there, just over 2,000 mini pools worth of demand, which was magnificent. Really, really great to see that. So then, of course, after the 12 hours happened, the first people who could scrub were getting their scrub done, and then converted that to a new validator, and the first person who did that was Patches, which was really amazing to see that Patches did that. So that's not my laptop. Sorry about that, if you can hear that. Yeah, so Patches was the first person to do that, and I was really happy that it was Patches, because yeah, that's great for Patches. I thought it would be Ken, because Ken, I think, was a little bit faster in getting the actual bond reduction transaction through, but maybe Ken wasn't quite fast enough to get the validator spun up. So congrats to Patches for having the first LEB8 on Rocket Pool. Then something really interesting that happened is 1KX, who is a big institutional staker, basically started depositing a whole lot of RPL tokens. So here they had 22,000 RPL tokens, and here they had another 22,000 RPL tokens on two of their nodes that they have. So they were like starting to deposit. So people were just like, what are they doing? And I'm going to come back to that in a bit. I'll give you some more information about that later. And then at this point, so basically 24 hours and 47 minutes after Atlas went live, the deposit pool was empty. Well, it wasn't exactly empty. There was enough for one mini pool, a 16 ETH mini pool, but not enough for anything else. And then a couple of minutes later, even that was reduced down, so there was not enough space. So it took just over 24 hours to clear the deposit queue. However, one thing you should know is that in the period after Atlas went live and before the mini pool was cleared went to zero, there was about 10,000 ETH worth of deposits into the deposit pool. So the Rocket Pool protocol ate 28,000 ETH worth of, basically 28,000 ETH in the deposit pool. The stakers ate that all up and gobbled it up, and now there is none left. So any amounts that are coming in now are being used up with people who are in the queue for staking. So this is the first time in a long time that we've had a queue for staking, but I'll be bringing that up later as well. Let me move on to the next piece of information. Yeah, what am I looking at here? There's a wallet here, says initiated a bond to reduce. There, maybe I got the wrong link. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be seeing here. So there's just too many tabs. Okay. Yeah, and then this is when the actual deposit pool went down to zero. So I guess it just went up a little bit, and then someone used that all up and took it down to zero, which is really, really, really exciting. Or maybe that was, sorry, yeah, this was the last. This here, right here, was the last LEB to go through on the initial 18,000 until this was the last one to go through when the bond went to zero. So that's what we were looking at just there a second ago. So then that's when the deposit pool went to zero. Of course, there were still deposits coming through, and people are getting through the queue. It's just happening a little bit slowly. So once the deposit pool was cleared and everything was done, Langer's made this post. He says Atlas has been live for just over 24 hours, and it's been a wild and exhilarating ride so far. Let's break it down. He said staked 18,000 ETH from the deposit pool, plus about 10,000 ETH of new deposits. There were 973 mini pools deposited, over 2,000 bond reductions. So that's 500 of them, of which are still in progress. I think it's more than 500 that are in progress now. And then there were 50 plus solo staker migrations, 21 new node operators, 25 initialized mini pools waiting in the queue, and rETH has 1,793 ETH for unstaking if you want to unstake from your mini pools. And then it says Atlas has arrived. And Atlas was a massive collection effort, and while we are thrilled to have successfully launched it, we couldn't have done it without the incredible contributions and support from the entire Rocket Pool community. We are extremely grateful and proud to have such a dedicated and engaged community. Rocket Pool is embarking on a new chapter, and it's clear that we are a significant player in the Ethereum space. Together, we can continue to reduce barriers to entry for permissionless staking on Ethereum and contribute to its decentralization. So that was really wonderful. And then Dave here had a post a few hours later saying, we've identified a minor issue for node operators who are not in the smoothing pool that wish to reduce bonds. They'll get slightly incorrect distribution of their execution layer rewards if they do not distribute their fee distributed manually before their node finalizes bond reduction. If they distribute manually before reduce bond, it avoids the issue. The issue stems from collateralization rate being adjusted before the distribution if done automatically. To distribute your fee distribution manually, run Rocket Pool node distribute fees in the command line interface. We're already working on a hotfix release of the smart node stack that will migrate this issue in the interim, with smart node contract fix to follow after testing Rocket Pool. So I'm going to come up to this as well later, but there are a couple of tiny issues like this that have come up that you know, we're going to talk about. So I should have mentioned this in a few minutes actually, instead of mentioning it now. I just scrolled down instead of scrolling up and leaving it at Langers's comment. So sorry, you got a message out of order there. Okay, so then Dr. Worm said we've got new charts requested from Valdorff added to the pool, and here there's mini pools by ETH bond. So it shows that, you know, initially, you know, before Atlas went live, it was pretty much zero. All the mini pools were 16 ETH mini pools, and as the time has gone on, now we are starting to see a big chunk of that, basically over 10%, nearly 20% of that is LEB8s already. So that is really great. I'm talking about Dr. Worm's dashboards. We're going to talk about that in a second as well. So here Joe was giving some information about information in the smoothing pools and in the staking pool, the balance available, and it's saying, you know, the 317 available mini pools with a total capacity of nearly 10,000 ETH, and of course that number is higher now. And Joe says, could someone actually deposit? Sorry, Noshua said, someone could actually deposit 27,000 ETH right now, and then they'd clear that whole pool. So there's a whole lot of space now for deposits to come through. So if you have 27,000 ETH lying around, and if you want to mint some rETH, you'll be doing Rocket Pool a huge favor, because we will literally eat through that within a matter of minutes, which is amazing. And then Kevster's brother said, hey, Thomas, can I convince you in some rETH? I see you checking the price. So Thomas was checking the LSD stat, basically LSD price stat, to see about a premium on CB ETH, because Thomas took a position in that to kind of unwind some ETH and capture that 1% difference, basically, that there was there last week. And Kevster said, yeah, can I convince you to get some rETH? And Thomas says, as soon as I can exit from my CB ETH, I'll be getting rETH. So that's really cool. I'm not sure what the size of Thomas's position is there, but I'm sure it's not insignificant. So yeah, that is really great that, you know, Thomas will be taking up some of that deposit pool space and helping spin up some mini pools. So like everything with Atlas, you know, there was some issues that came up for people. It's not necessarily an issue with the coding or anything like that, but kind of in the community, there were some people who were wondering what was going on. So there was a command line issue. Let me actually go back a step so we can have a look. Noshua said, by the way, there have been some reverts because of this 1 ETH requirement, and basically there's some issues that are happening because of that, and people are saying, oh, should I be holding on my clients 16's ETHs until get fresh ETH in? But what was happening is, let me try to piece this information together for you all. So basically what's happening is that there needs to be 1 ETH requirement in the deposit pool for certain kinds of transactions to go through, and if that ETH isn't there, then those transactions can fail. And Nosho says what's happening is the smart node only checks if the ETH is there when you submit, but it can be gone by the time the transaction gets included in the block. And Nosho says I wrote the revert message for this one in the smart contracts, so I'm a bit attached to those reverts. So then Nosho said, I think the command line is doing a job as is possible. The issue is that the state can change between sending the transaction and it being included, and the revert happens as soon as possible to keep the gas relatively cheap. And then MyTM says, so does the command line interface do a check to see if there's more than one ETH in deposit pool? And if not, then not even issue a transaction? And Nosho says, I think so, yes. So where was that point? Yeah, so Nosho says it's a bit tricky because you might get to a point where there's lots of people waiting for ETH in deposit pool, and there are a bunch of transactions being sent at the same time. And it seems like, wait, let me just find the information about the revert. Sorry. Yeah, I think there was something about there being a revert, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And like they said over here, like there's going to be a fix for that, hopefully. Yeah, non-fungible Yoakum says, but if the pool changes before the transactions land, nothing could be done. That's why Joe posted extremely alpha smart node patch last night to use a Flashbox bundle that puts one ETH into the pool at the same time as the mini pool deposit. So they're already trying to work on trying to fix this to make sure that is not going to be a problem that is faced by lots of people. So that's definitely one of those issues that came up. And then another thing is Sneaky said, hey Joe, I got a question. Did I mini pool delegate upgrades and I set a manual max transaction fee? It looks like that worked for the first mini pool, but for the rest it seems like it just used whatever the network's rapid fee was. And Sneaky says that's not supposed to happen, is it? And then Joe replied to Sneaky by saying, he says then gas, that was not the case for me. And then basically right as his first one went through, then the gas decided to pump. So then Joe kind of made this little poll saying, how should the node deal with auto bond reductions? So should we force a bond reduce after 24 hours at the network gas price as it is today, or don't force the bond reduce and let it limit out of if gas never gets better, so you have to start over? So a lot of people in this poll replied by saying 2, let it fail, and let people make their own decisions about how much gas they want to pay, so they don't get into a position where they're paying more gas than they thought they were going to, because it can get really expensive really quickly. And Joe says then the masses have spoken, and that's 2. So Joe Sneaky said, is the smart node going to be updated based on this? And Joe said, probably. I need to include your critical missing TUI line. Thanks for reminding me. So people weren't happy with that. And then it says smart node doesn't use the base fee, it uses beacon chain gas now's number. So that's where some of those like issues can come up. Like, please go and check these links to, like, if you want to read these conversations more, because I'm kind of, I only have a certain amount of time, and I can't really get into all the details of it all. So if this has piqued your interest, then definitely go and check for that information. Okay, so then Joe then here had a quick release. He says, just want to provide a quick note for you all. As I'm sure many of you are aware, gas costs have been consistently high today. As I'm writing this, is 150 Gwei. Many people in the middle of a bond reduction have expressed their desire to stop the forced reduction portion in which occurs automatically after 24 hours or whatever the network's gas price is. This process can be stopped, though it's letting it time out intentionally means you'll have to start over and pay the gas costs for begin, bond, reduce, and wait through the 12-hour scrub timer again. If you're okay with that and want to stop, do one of the following. For Docker and hybrid modes, run docker stop rocket pool node, and this will stop the network metrics in Grafana and automatically staking on new mini pools, which are critical if not done manually. So we recommend that you start the node again with docker start rocket pool node as soon as the network prices are more reasonable for network, and then the native mode as well, how you can stop it. And he says, finally, we've heard your feedback in the upcoming version 1.9.3 release that mitigates the issues mentioned in protocol earlier. I've changed, and that's what I was talking about earlier as well. I've changed the automatic band reduction process so it no longer has a forced timer and will honor your transaction gas threshold settings all the way to the end, even if that means it'll time out. So thank you for those updates that are happening, Joe, and team and getting everything fixed as quickly as possible with that. Okay, next we had a little bit of some reminiscences from Dave. He says, if anyone wants to go down a bit of a rocket pool history, I did a Google for old rocket pool article and also came across the original OG Reddit rocket pool post. So this was from over 6 years ago. Right now, it says over here it was from May 19th, 2017. And here, there's an article in Medium. It says Rocket Pool, your new Casper-friendly Ethereum proof of stake pool is in alpha. So, the team, like Langer said in this episode that I did on Launchpad, they were really working on this really hard at the time, and people responded to this really well. There's 59 messages. Dave said, hey everyone, this is a project I've been working on for the last 6 months as around my regular 9-to-5 job. I would love to get some feedback now that it's an alpha. In case you come directly to the comments, a quick TLDR is, this is Rocket Pool next generation decentralized Ethereum proof of stake pool currently in alpha and is built to be compatible with Casper as it is spec now. You can find the code here and there's a link to the GitHub, and the website is here, rocketpool.net, the website that we all know and love. And people said, it's a very important contribution. I don't have the expertise to evaluate tech, but this is very much needed, because at the time, I think at that time it was still the case that it was a 1000 ETH a bond for a validator, before it got moved down to 32 with a beacon chain spec. So there were some really interesting comments here from right in the early days of Rocket Pool, if you're interested in giving those a read. People were like, Sneaky saying, wow, Casper, we were still talking about Casper back then. And people were talking about how they were a lot younger, a lot stupider. I remember being super interested in this project, but super skeptical that you guys would make it. Years later, I wish I'd bought early. I'm here all the same. You guys are killing it. Congrats on the great success. And Dave says, oh, thanks, mate. I've heard him say that, oh, thanks, mate, in Denver. And it's kind of stuck in my head the way he says it. So that's really cool. I'm kind of hearing his voice. He says most projects from 2017 didn't make it. So being skeptical is completely warranted. Of course, at that time, we didn't know what would and wouldn't make it, right? But there were some really nice comments here as well. That Kev says, hey, I almost have break even in my 2017 bag. Of course, the price has done like a 60 or 70 or maybe 100x since then in dollar terms. And Dave said, I'd love to know how many other startups from then are still going and being used. OMG was massive at the time, same as Status, who's still going, Gnosis, etc. So there's some projects that are still around from then that are still going. But Rocket Pool, of course, is in one of those very small group of projects now. And then here there's some really nice comments, this is great, something I've been talking about with friends. It's amazing to see how the Ethereum community can create amazing things even before they're needed. I will keep my eyes on your projects and hopefully I'll be able to contribute in the future on your GitHub. Now, I don't know if that person did or not. I hope they did, and I hope they're still holding their RPL token. Okay, and then Dave, of course, feeling like in the reminiscent mood, and then he reduced the bond of his mini pools as well. So he's transitioning towards LEB8s also. So it's nice that the team is doing that as well. Okay, next we have a whole bunch of articles and things where Rocket Pool was covered in the news, whether that was because of price action. Of course, we just hit all-time highs, or whether that was because of Atlas. There were a whole lot of really nice coverage that we got. So here, there's an article in Crypto News saying top crypto gainers today, April 17th, Casper injected protocol Rocket Pool, and then there's talk about price action. Here we have an article from News BTC saying Rocket Pool RPL on a 4-day bullish streak after Chappella. Can it make a fifth? So people, talking about the price and how it was like doing really great things. Then we had this from Investopedia saying cryptocurrencies to watch week of April 17th. And then Rocket Pool was in there. It says this week we examine Woo Network, Render Token, Arbitrum Token, Rocket Pool, and Solana. So we're getting some good coverage there, in the article about Rocket Pool. In the section about Rocket Pool, said a staking solution Rocket Pool's token price has advanced more than 32%, possibly because of successful Chappella upgrade. This upgrade to the Ethereum network's Chappella upgrade combines changes to execution layer. And Rocket Pool's staking solution for Ethereum has grown in popularity over the past year. It provides easy access to Ethereum staking as it circumvents the need to hold 32 ETH. So there was some good information in there as well, but it looks like it was bot written. Here we have an article from Coin Edition saying data shows RPL has outperformed BTC ETH and LDO, Lido's LDO since Chappella, and they've got some nice charts of the growth of RPL in the last few weeks. Basically since April 1st, and how we've had a really good time. Gone up basically 30 or so % since that point, which is fantastic. Okay, next we had and this article from Blockworks as well that Ken shared, saying Blockworks is Ethereum staking, and they were talking about how the upgrade to Atlas upgrade basically to Rocket Pool allows 8 ETH staking. So Blockworks did a good thing there. And next we have this one from CoinDesk saying Rocket Pool made it cheaper to stake ETH through its platform for following Ethereum Shanghai update. And then there's some good information here as well. So that was really great coverage for Rocket Pool. A whole lot of social media, engagement, like massive amounts. I saw so much stuff in the last few weeks. It's just amazing to see that Rocket Pool is literally becoming a top tier staking provider now, even though our market share is way less than others. So Jasper said shared some really interesting information here right after Atlas launched. He says it's crazy. Either our ETH was at a premium and we were supply constrained, or we are deeply under peg and no one minted our ETH. Either way, for most of our history, Rocket Pool has had unfavorable pressure, and we've only had a glimpse of the Goldilocks zone. Now we will be in it for quite some time. So what does the Goldilocks zone mean? The Goldilocks zone means when our ETH price on the secondary market is pretty much the same as the minting price through the token, through the deposit pool. At that point is when the DeFi games can be really good fun, and people know that this is a project that's going to stay on peg. So for a big chunk of time it was under peg, for a whole lot of time it was way over peg. So those are not good times for it to be utilized. So this Goldilocks zone is hopefully the kind of area that we're going to stay at for the foreseeable future. It might take a few weeks to get to that point because of the huge node operator demand and validator demand there is at the moment. But I'm hoping that we're going to settle in a few weeks, and in that settling, the DeFi games will really begin. Okay, next we had this comment from Phiz on Twitter. He says, if your DAO has been holding its treasury waiting to be a good steward with staking, I'm comfortable encouraging you to move forward now. Solo staking is de-risked if your community can run hardware. Rocket Pool's rETH is a perfect passive staking solution for DAOs. It's really good that Phiz is getting this message out, because Rocket Pool really is a really great solution for people now, right? You can get your tokens on, swap your ETH for rETH, and your DAO's treasury then is all set for having its getting that passive income, which is extremely important, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later as well. One of the things that happened right as Atlas was coming out was Blockchain Capital, who of course dumped RPL last week, had a whole nother bunch of dumping that they did that really impacted the price. But whatever, right? That's their prerogative if they want to dump their tokens they've been holding for multiple years. It's just it wasn't very graceful the way they did it. So here you can see the wallet. They dumped I think 65 5,000 RPL, somewhere around that number, and they did it over the course of just over an hour. So the price, of course, really took a hit because of that, because they were just dumping onto Uniswap in chunks of 6,000, 3,000, 5,000 RPL at a time, except the last one, which was 10,059 RPL. So they really did dump a whole lot of RPL, but yeah, like that's their prerogative. But people were really upset that, you know, they're an ODAO member and they shouldn't really be dumping like that, but that happens. Of course, the other side of that is, like I told you, 1KX were staking 44,000 RPL. Here, you know, we started getting news of big people like starting to register. So you know, 0x Sheen here shared this information about this wallet. They registered, they have 3,000 ETH, but there's no RPL to be seen. So where's the RPL? What's going to happen? And look, if I said the RPL is another wallet, but what we saw then was people started buying, right? Like there was big chunks of buying starting to come through for people, and then this person like 0x Sheen replied by saying, lol, they just bought RPL, and then there's their transaction where they like started buying RPL to cover that amount of ETH, and they bought like a big chunk of RPL. Basically, looking here, they bought more, and then they were buying in chunks of 30 RPL at a time. They bought 300 RPL basically. There's another one, and there's another one, and of course, you know, it's not quite as much as what Blockchain Capital dumped, but this is the kind of like thing that's changing now, where this is a real life action, seeing in you know, that there's big node operators out there who want to start being node operators. They're going to buy RPL to do that, to get access to those higher staking yields and like do that leverage decentralization. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful, like that this is happening, you know, like, so it's not just negatives, people dumping, there's actually people out there buying as well and getting ready for this. So it's really great to see. There's an Etherscan error here. I was trying to show you all the transactions, I guess, for that, but those are gone. So sorry about that. Yeah, okay, so next we have other operators here. This is the right, so this another one here is we have Dokia Capital, who I've talked about on Rocket Fuel before. They're an investment house that are running people's validators. I think, I don't exactly know what they're doing, but I think they take their customer deposits and run validators on their behalf. Well, what they've done in the last few days is spun up 50 more mini pools that are now on like waiting to run. So they are getting more into the staking with Rocket Pool as well, you know. So, you know, on one side you might see people leaving, you might see people selling, but this is not financial advice, of course. I think the momentum, of course, now is shifting into more people being node operators, more people buying in order to cover those positions that they want to stake. So that, I think, is a net positive right now. So, you know, I covered the people dumping, but there's a good amount of people who are actually buying as well, which is really wonderful. Okay, so here we had a person from Nouns Dao, Al409, who says, if one of you gigabrains can help me, I can get the proposal up. So there was talk of Nouns Dao, basically, who are staking a big chunk of their ETH with Lido's ST-ETH. And of course, there are people in the Nouns Dao community who like Rocket Pool. So they are kind of coming here and talking about Rocket Pool. We were the team decentralized the stake, but it was more complex to implement trustlessly, if I remember. So there was a whole discussion going on about Nouns Dao's treasury and what they're doing. So Nouns Dao's treasury has 28,000 ETH in it. A whole bunch of that is being staked with Lido. And they're here, we're seeing, you know, when the Lido unlocks happens, shouldn't be hard to convince the DAO to redeem and diversify. No. So here, you know, Al409 was talking about how that would happen, getting a proposal written and getting that information out, which was really, really cool. And then, yeah, so that that's definitely something worth looking out for, about those kind of proposals, those kind of DAO proposals that Joe was talking, Phiz was talking about in a tweet I mentioned earlier, about how rETH is a great place to put your treasury money now. And then David Hoffman as well here says, is there a good tool to see where our ETH liquidity is, or is it just on Uniswap? Jasper says, CowSwap is a good place to check, but we also have a spreadsheet tracker if you want. And then David Hoffman said, yes, please. So Jasper shared that information to with David Hoffman. So there's definitely some interest going on with, and I don't know what David Hoffman's planning here. Like he didn't say anything here, but it's really interesting to see about different treasuries trying to gather that information and staking, hopefully with Rocket Pool in that time. Okay, next I want to move on and give a shout out here to Val, who has a bunch of comments in the forums that are about to go to vote. And Valdorff here says, update on governance wave of forums, on forums. So there's a discussion here about add an RPL goal related to the IMC charter. It says sentiment leaning poll has a leaning, but it's not totally clear cut, leaving it running until Friday before then potentially taking it to vote. Here there's a draft RP posted for feedback, and here there's automatic challenge response rework of the ODAO, and this poll is closed with promising community sentiment shown, and then there's a draft RP posted for feedback. Here we have avoid ODAO edge cases, and there's promising community feedback as well, and RPIP has been posted for feedback. And then next we have make ODAO health clearer, and poll is closed with overwhelming community support, and RPIP has been posted for feedback. So these are all things that are probably going to come to vote very soon. Valdorff, of course, is working on getting that information done and getting it to vote. So please make sure that you're ready with the vote stuff there for that. Next, Jasper shared this information about Aave putting the post, we talked about on Rocket Fuel on Monday's episode, on Friday's episode last week, saying add rETH to Aave version 3 arbitrum liquidity pool. The cross-chain expansion of Rocket Pool is accelerating now that Atlas and Shanghai are in the review mirror. And then there's a link to the governance forum that we'll have a very quick look at. We've covered Aave proposals here before as well. So there's audits and there's summary of the project, the motivation, why they want to do this, specifications showing that information as well. Rocket Pool, how it's growing, rETH, how it's used, all of that kind of stuff. What are the risk issues? That people seem to be happy with that proposal. So it looks like that should be happening very soon. Okay, next we had this news from Dukey, who said the RPL token has been listed on Bythump. Or Bythump. Which is a Korean one of the biggest exchanges in South Korea, and this is a first for Korea. I think maybe they waited until the upgrade of Atlas. So this news came up right a couple of hours after Atlas. Mav was talking about how he's been in touch with those people for a while now, and they were like asking lots of questions and doing lots of things, but they didn't actually reach out to him to tell him that they were listing the token. So that led to a nice little price pump on that platform. So now we're going to see if there's a kimchi premium. The kimchi premium, of course, was the Bitcoin name of the premium in price that was for Bitcoin in South Korea. And one of the things that the FTX partner company, Alameda Finance, got famous on trading that kimchi premium and making bank from that. So let's see if there's a Rocket Pool kimchi premium. I don't think there will be because there's so much DEX action now. Okay, next we had this tweet from Gravita protocol, who have covered a Rocket Pool before. They're a very Rocket Pool and rETH aligned borrowing lending protocol based on Liquidity. It's a friendly fork of Liquidity, and they said someone told us they could break our code. Okay, go do it. Our audit competition with Hats Finance is live next week. So they're in the audit process right now. They've set a prize of $105,000 USDC. Prizes of that if you can find issues with their code. So I guess they're doing their final audits, and then they'll do their final checks in the community and beta version, I guess, before they go live. So we really need that live soon because we need liquidity for our ETH. Okay, next, and then, just like Gravita is doing, we had this comment from Jamie T. He says, hey, Rocket Pool community, who can I get in contact with regarding a collaboration? Thanks in advance. So Jamie T, let me give you a little bit of information, is with the project Sorry, I had it written down, but I can't seem to find it now. Yeah, I'm sorry. Jamie T's with some project. I guess people asked around to find out who he is, but yeah, people are still reaching out to Rocket Pool team, which is fantastic to work on those integrations and stuff. If anyone's curious, let me know and I'll chase up that information about who Jamie T works with. Okay, next thing is again, more love for Anthony Sassano. So here we had Anthony Sassano giving a huge chunk of the episode to Rocket Pool and talking about Rocket Pool's growth here, which was really great to see. He shared Jasper's tweet about Rocket Pool, and then he shared my tweet and mentioned me, which was really nice and really kind of him to do, talking about Rocket Pool's expansion, post Atlas. And then he went on and showed Dr. Worm's dashboard, which I shared with him earlier on, and he was like going over that information that was there in that dashboard as well. And then in today's episode, again, he was kind enough to talk about Rocket Pool. He shared the Rocket Pool tweet, since launch of Atlas, 28,000 ETH has been staked. So he spent a few minutes here talking about Rocket Pool again, which of course was very kind of him to do. So thank you, Anthony, for doing that. Okay, David Hoffman had been popping in and out of trading quite a lot today. One of the things that he talked about was the Rocket Pool community sending a representative to Permissionless, which is the Bankless conference that's happening in September. So since he was talking about the Bankless conference happening in September, one of the things that he did was made a discount code for the Rocket Pool community for this conference. So David said, I made this code just for you guys, RPL15, which is a code. It will get you 15% off the Permissionless tickets. So if anyone from the Rocket Pool community is interested in going to Permissionless, they can then use this code to get access to what's happening there, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you, David, for providing that to our community. It's really, really kind of you to do that. Okay, so one of the things that happened on Monday was the Rocket Fuel episode reached 1 hour and 16 minutes. It was a gargantuan episode because I missed Friday's episode as well. So Penvic had this POAP ready for Denver, thinking that I would have an hour-long episode at Denver. People have been joking about me doing an hour-long episode of Rocket Fuel for a really long time. So it was really funny that they had this ready. So the hour-long Rocket Fuel prophecy POAP. So there was a thread that was made. Here the prophecy has been fulfilled, and people left messages in there, and then they were eligible for that POAP. So that was really nice of Penvic and RPL Maxi to distribute as well. So thank you guys for putting that together. It was a little in-joke in the Rocket Fuel sub community to get that 1 hour episode, and you guys finally got that. So I'm glad. For those of you who watched the whole thing, amazing job. Thank you for that. There was a whole lot of content out on Monday right before Atlas, so I know that people were just oh my god, there's too much content, but I think people really enjoyed it, and I know a whole bunch of people watched basically 3.5 hours of Rocket Fuel content before Atlas. So my hat's off to those people. Good job. Okay, next we had this tweet thread from Sam Andrew, who was talking about different LSTs. He's still using the term LSDs, which we've all moved on from, obviously, about why it's the best way to stake and what's really good about it and everything. And then here he was talking about Rocket Pool. He says Rocket Pool will benefit from the increased stake ETH. Why? So it has a small base. It's only 2.5% market share. So the inflows have a disproportionately large impact, and decentralized, how Rocket Pool is the most decentralized LST has that, the rETH is the most decentralized LST, and unit economics about how node operators earn a whole lot more with Rocket Pool than with other services. And then Chappella Upgrade is a catalyst, and Rocket Pool, now that people can move, they'll move to LSTs like Rocket Pool, and solo stakers will switch to Rocket Pool because of better economics, decentralization, can stake even more ETH. It's an easy switch. So this is kind of going into the win-win-win narrative that I've been talking about for a while now. And then here then there's a case for LSTs, and specifically comparing Lido with the Rocket Pool and its advantages there. So if you want, you can go give this a read and check out what Sam Andrew was talking about. So I'm going to finish this episode with some news about Stader. So here we had Pateris sharing this information with me from Stader, talking about the yield returns on a Stader pool, And basically the argument that they're making is that Stader can give you a whole lot more returns based using their rolling beta node operator instead of a direct mainnet node operator, about like what you need to provide and what you need to bond and what your boosted commission is and all that kind of stuff and how that all works. So the idea is that extra rewards rolling beta node operator gets 38% boost for their staking rewards by being in that. So if you want to be beta operator, then they were really trying to incentivize that by saying we're giving really good finances. However, the following day there was some information with Stader, and it looks like they're going to not be able to carry on with their staking right now. And Noshua shared this screenshot from the Stader channel saying, "Hello everyone, I trust your day is going well." Then Bossy said, "When are you going live?" And the person from the Stader team said, "Are you referring to Stader staking?" And Bossy said, "Yes sir." And then people from there said, "Stader staking launch is currently paused because there is no legal clarity as regard to single-sided staking. We will have an update soon regarding this as we consult further legal sources." So there seems to be some issue going on with Stader. No one really knows what it is, but at the moment it looks like they're pausing their operations before getting some more legal clarity. So that is definitely going to be something worth keeping an eye on, and I thought that was a big enough development to cover it on Rocket Fuel today. But thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. All of you all have been amazing these last few days. Like the content you've helped me get, like just the excitement around Atlas has just been truly phenomenal. And I'm so happy to be part of this community, like truly, like it's absolutely magnificent. So I'm going to stop recording here. I hope you've all had a lovely couple of days of Atlas so far. I didn't share Dr. Worm's dashboard. Sorry about this. I thought I had that ready. I had it in another tab. Thankfully I saw it. So this is like a bonus content for those of you who are still watching. There's some information here on Dr. Worm's Doomboard Analytics dashboard. That's the one that Sasano covered in the Daily Gwei as well. And it's got information here. It says there's 1,444 new LEB8s. There's 1,846 bond reductions, and 59 solo staker migrations have started. So there's a whole lot of ETH that is waiting to be staked with Rocket Pool. We just need the rETH demand. So I'm going to be in touch with the Nouns people, see if I can help with that proposal, and see if I can help in any way. But Nouns is just one group. There's a whole bunch of other people out there who can do this stuff. So I'm going to stop recording now. Like I said already, thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of Rocket Fuel, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.